All right, so you're here with us because you want to know more about what's happening in global trade.
Yeah.
You flagged
Mm-hmm.
a report detailing a deepening tariff situation. Our goal. Well, let's pull out those really crucial details.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's grasp what's happening right now
Yes.
and maybe get a sense of where things might be headed.
Yeah, we're looking at what this report tells us, what the facts are,
Exact.
what the developments are. We won't speculate too much.
No speculation, just the
We'll
facts.
stick to what we know.
Okay, so the big news seems to be that just after midnight, China got hit with a massive jump in U.S. tariffs, like a 104% increase. And this is because they weren't willing to scale back their own retaliatory measures, huh?
That's the main event this report's highlighting. It's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, a 104% tariff hike? That's a big escalation, no doubt about it.
And it's not just the U.S. and China at this point, right? This is
Yeah.
hitting about 60 countries and territories now. These, these reciprocal tariffs from the U.S.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big net. What does that say about how interconnected all these trade relationships are?
It really shows how much the global economy, how interwoven it all is.
Yeah.
We can't think of these as isolated actions,
Right.
There's a ripple effect. It affects a lot of different players.
Yeah, and the global reaction to this is pretty negative, it seems. There's widespread condemnation from a lot of world leaders. We've got the UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, saying that nobody wins in a trade war, and French President Macron, he's urging a reversal of these tariffs.
Those are pretty strong words.
Yeah.
And it really underscores the concern that a lot of people have, a lot of leaders have, about what this might do to global stability and economic growth.
It's interesting, though, because the White House is saying that despite all that, that public pushback, almost 70 countries have reached out to the U.S. to try to talk about these tariffs. That's a lot of diplomatic activity.
It's interesting. There's public criticism, yeah. But at the same time, a lot of nations are trying to figure out, okay, how do we minimize the damage to our own economy, right? So they're reaching out to the U.S. directly, trying to work things out.
Makes sense. And what about the U.S. side of this? Kevin Hassett, who is Trump's economic advisor, he's sounding pretty optimistic. He's talking about positive discussions, says there are a lot of concessions on the table.
Yeah.
But he also emphasizes that it's ultimately up to President Trump. What do you think?
Well, it's important to remember who's saying this is positive, right? This is coming from the U.S. administration. And also, what exactly does concessions mean? It could mean a lot of different things, depending on who you talk to.
Yeah, that's true. Now, here's where things get really interesting. So, U.S. stock markets, they rallied. Major European markets were up, too, after all this news came out. It's kind of surprising when you think about the possibility of a full-blown trade war.
Right.
Any idea why that might be?
It is interesting. The markets seem to like this. Sometimes that can happen if investors think that maybe this will be resolved quickly through negotiations. They're betting on a good outcome. But as analysts have been pointing out, this initial reaction might not reflect the long-term economic realities. This could still drag on and cause more disruption.
We also get a really powerful firsthand perspective from Sarah Wells. She's a U.S. small business owner.
Oh, yeah.
Her products are made in China. And she's saying these tariffs are completely unsustainable. She's devastated by the price increases she's facing. Really puts a human face on this whole thing,
It does. The big economic numbers, they might tell one story in the short term, but for individual businesses, for consumers eventually, the impact can be very different, and they feel it right away. So her situation, it shows how these supply chains are disrupted, how prices can go up, and how real people are affected.
Yeah, and that's something we sometimes lose sight of, I think. So just to sum up here, we've got increased tariffs on China, major concerns from world leaders, but a lot of countries are trying to negotiate. The U.S. administration is saying things are looking good, at least from their perspective. The markets had a positive initial reaction, but there are some warnings from analysts. And on the ground, businesses are feeling the pressure.
That's a really good summary of